2, 1. We are here. We've had another huge victory, guys. Peter Mandelson just got arrested. We will be covering this story in more depth later on in this stream. But for now, let me show you guys the video of him getting taken away from his home by the cops. Because this, like Andy, it is history in the making. Play.
Glorious scenes. He looks furious.
Scowling, isn't he?
You know, the police have a really good opportunity here to gain back some public trust, because with Leveson Part 2 being dropped, which looked into police corruption in the media, and the grooming gang scandal just being horrific in terms of failures, they really can use this now to show and to prove to the public if two-tier exists. I mean, look, I think so many of us see that two-tier exists, and we believe it does. But this is a good opportunity for us to see, you know, let's see if we put our trust in the law, what happens.
If they're capable of doing anything, these idiots, they just tend to fumble things and make things even worse. And we will be coming back to the Mandelson story with more specifics. But Lauren is here, and we're going to be talking more about the huge names in the files. Naomi Campbell's appearances everywhere in these rings. Jay-Z. We have reached out to Ryan Mia. He might be dropping in. We'll see what happens later on. Jay-Z's estranged son, and I've read all of the Jay-Z files today. And yeah, so get your questions in the chat, and please subscribe to Lauren's channel and mine if you're on Lauren's channel. Thank you.
This is a subject that I find fascinating. It's an occult within Hollywood. They are one big club, and when you say it, they would say, no, it's a conspiracy. But there is so much evidence tying all of these people to very questionable activity. And when you look at the broad picture, I personally believe it's undeniable to not believe that they are in one big club, cult, however you want to refer to it as. But it is not the world that we all live in. And so we know that Jay-Z and Diddy, for example, incredibly close. When the whole Diddy story dropped, Jay-Z was like Usain Bolt, running away from Diddy, did not want to have his name dragged into it. Enter Alex Spiro, who is Jay-Z's lawyer. Now, Alex Spiro is, I would argue, an aggressive lawyer, not physically, but he is on the case. So he's able to squash stories and really leverage that power. He also at a time interned at the CIA, which I find very interesting. But when the story dropped about Diddy, we saw Jay-Z say, didn't really know him at all. No, you did. Diddy, in fact, said the only person that called him Shaun, apart from his mum, was Jay-Z. So they were in that billionaires elites club. And if you listen to whistleblowers, obviously Diddy and Jay-Z have done everything within their power to stop whistleblowers. They've claimed they have a vendetta, they're lying, they're mentally disturbed. It's always the same, isn't it? Every time someone comes out with a narrative that doesn't fit what they want, let's just brand them a head case, which is ridiculous. So the whistleblowers, we have learned so much from when it comes to Jay-Z. Jaguar Wright, who I am a huge fan of, she told us all a long time ago. Obviously, I know there are some great videos on your channel, Shaun. And she said on Piers Morgan, there is one person that connects Jeffrey Epstein, Harvey Weinstein, and Sean Combs. And that person is Shaun Carter. Shaun Carter being Jay-Z. So I find it interesting as well, after Jaguar Wright has been so vocal about Jay-Z, she's never had legal letters, or, you know, the legal letters would have come to Jaguar at the very start of when she was speaking about him, because the celebrity lawyers, they want to shut it down straight away, because if that gets momentum and it crosses over from YouTube and independent media to the mainstream media, that's a problem. And so we saw Jaguar on Piers Morgan, where she said Jay-Z and Beyonce are a nasty couple that do nasty things. And that was where she was also speaking about all of the others I named. And Piers Morgan had to take that clip down, and he had to issue an apology, because the celebrity lawyers were panicking. This narrative that Jaguar is telling could not be more opposite from what we see from Diddy, Jay-Z, in the public domain. So they have tried to squash the whistleblowers, but the time is coming. Jay-Z's time, I believe, is TikTok, pal. I don't think he is going to be at the top of that pyramid for very much longer whatsoever. And the picture you've put up on the screen, so this is of Jay-Z with Rymir Satherwaite, and Rymir Satherwaite's mum is the middle picture. Now, Rymir, he's an amazing guy. We've interviewed him on your channel, haven't we, Shaun? And
several times, yeah.
He's just so lovely. I think it's very obvious when someone is telling their truth, and you know if they're driven by fame, you know if they're driven by the wrong things. Rymir is not driven by fame whatsoever. He claims his mum was transported when she was underage, and that Jay-Z is his father. Now, what has continued for years and years and years is Jay-Z has refused to take a paternity test. He, I think, has leveraged his money, power, and influence, and he has avoided this. Meanwhile, Rymir has barely had mainstream media coverage, and he's been painted as really someone who's harassing Jay-Z, who's fame hungry. I mean, this simply isn't true. Now, what I find very fascinating about Rymir is when I spoke to him, I had several calls with him before I interviewed him. And I said, Rymir, this is going to sound really strange, but ever since I've been investigating Jay-Z, and this was, you know, way back last year, I said, I really feel like, I don't know how to describe it, but there's a lot of negative energy. I feel, I don't know, I can't explain it. And he said he felt the same. I know this can sound a bit woo-woo, but I do believe these people have incredibly dark forces. They are not the best of society, in my opinion. And there are more allegations as well that suggest Jay-Z and Beyonce are interested in witchcraft. So we've seen Beyonce's drummer come out and claim that Beyonce was practicing extreme witchcraft. I don't think this is a conspiracy in the slightest, because there's the saying, when someone shows you who they are, believe them. And you only have to look at the iconography around Jay-Z and Beyonce. That clearly shows us heavy Aleister Crowley references. There's frequently the use of Baphomet being used. There are satanic undertones that are not done just for art form. We often hear celebrity musicians say, oh, it's art. Well, is it? Because we've also seen Jay-Z do a video with Spirit Cooker Marina Abramovich. So when you look at all of this put together, it's undeniable that there is a cult, without question, in my opinion. And we've seen it in Jay-Z's Run This Town video. So there's many occult experts that have said this is rich in symbolism, referring back to Aleister Crowley with the "Do What Thou Wilt" slogan and references to the 5% Nation. We also see that in Rockaware, Jay-Z's clothing line, and he incorporates this, Jay-Z, into so much of his album artwork, his live shows, as does Beyonce. And Epstein was very fascinated with Aleister Crowley as well. We see with the temple, it's everywhere, really. But what I feel is most interesting is when people have tried to talk about the occult side or tried to expose Jay-Z, it doesn't go well for these people. So I've got a list of people and I want to run through it, but let me tell you my experience personally. So I interviewed Big Homie CC. Actually, no, I didn't interview him. I tried numerous times and it never happened. But when we were exchanging messages, I said to him, is there any subject you don't want to go near? And I asked if we could talk about Ali Carter. He said no. I said about Jay-Z, and he just said, people just don't go near it. I can't. So people, I believe, are really scared to talk out because Jay-Z holds huge power. The level of power he has cannot be underestimated. So we see him, he's almost infiltrated the judiciary, the NFL, fashion, music streaming. He is the highest level that you can be within the music industry, behind the scenes as a manager. And people are really scared to speak out. So we saw Nicki Minaj speak out last year, and she's just been going full steam ahead. Credit to her, because it's risky, you know. You risk a lot when you go against a giant like that. And like I said, Big Homie CC said, don't talk about it. And when I was investigating Rock Nation regarding Desiree Perez, who is the head of Rock Nation and is in a lawsuit with her daughter, Damore Hadley, I received threats. Now, who were these threats from? I couldn't tell you, but it was very, very strange that all of a sudden, when I put into the public domain, I was investigating this, I suddenly got anonymous threats, but then I had someone who claimed to be representing victims of, or alleged victims of, Diddy. They tried to almost trap me by giving me false information to put out, which would have then got me in trouble. But something felt off about it, so I didn't do it. And I'm so happy I didn't, because I believe it was absolutely a trap to set me up. So I come out and say false allegations and then, you know, cannot do what I do anymore. So there's so many people that have got very negative experiences and stories in relation to speaking out about Naomi Campbell, Diddy, Jay-Z, Beyonce. And you have to ask yourself, are all of these people mad? No, they're not. Not a chance. I think Jaguar Wright told us a long, long time ago, and everything she said is coming. It might not have all come yet, but it's coming. And that is only going to pick up pace.
Absolutely. I mean, when Piers Morgan, when he was quaking in his boots because he got the legal letter from, is it Spiro?
Alex Spiro.
And then Jay-Z's like, you ain't going to get one red penny? One red penny. Yeah. Was that what he said to Tony Busby? So we were one of the first to have Busby on the channel, and this guy had I think he had a tank outside his house or something, some kind of military vehicle. Really tough guy. You know, you could tell that he could take a lot of heat, but I think they drenched up that he had a drunk driving case from his past, and they threatened him allegedly, let's say, and there was all kinds of black ops, and people entered the state of Texas who were pretending to be some kind of government agents that weren't government agents. They were allegedly working for Jay-Z. There was all kinds of shenanigans going on, Lauren.
The time for these people is like TikTok, because this doesn't wash anymore now. And because the mainstream media is totally defunct, it holds no weight. They can control that narrative, but no one reads it. And actually, people like Nicki Minaj, Jaguar Wright, these are people we need to protect, amplify. Everyone needs to use their platforms to protect these whistleblowers, because they do risk everything. And Jay-Z is someone who's used to getting his own way. He dictates. He could, I think, end a career with one call. And we saw that with MIA. You know, she spoke out. Now, MIA, I think, is an incredibly smart woman, the first internet artist. She is very brave, super savvy. This is not someone who is fame hungry. This is not someone who has got an agenda. I think she just got to the point where she thought, I'm telling the truth now, I'm fed up of this. And she said that Jay-Z had pressured her to get plastic surgery. And she alluded in her comment to the fact that it sounds like Jay-Z and Beyonce were doing witchcraft. She talked about black goo, and there were really satanic elements about it. And she, MIA, was dating a Bronfman. So it's entirely plausible that Jay-Z made a call to the Bronfman, or the Bronfman made a call to Jay-Z, and they can end careers like MIA. And lo and behold, her career ended. Now she's bounced back. She's taken back her control. And I believe she's thriving and she's telling the truth. But it's very interesting that every time someone steps out of this very rigid framework that is propaganda, see ya, they're kind of cut loose. And we saw this as well with Liz Crokin. So Liz Crokin, I love her. She did Out of Shadows, the documentary with Mike Smith, which really blew the whistle on Hollywood and the very deep undercurrents of what's going on and everything. Liz Crokin used to work at Star Magazine. She's now independent, fearless journalist. But when Liz Crokin was at Star Magazine, she had a story that Jay-Z had an alleged mistress named Kathy White. She contacted Kathy White and said, I've got a story that you're having an affair with Jay-Z, and Kathy White denied it. Liz Crokin then went back to her and said, I have pictures of you in Teo in Vegas with Diddy and Jay-Z, and I want to talk to you. So Kathy White said, let me think about it. I might want to talk to you. A few days later, she had a brain aneurysm. Now, these things always tend to happen, don't they? We saw Brittany Murphy, who was a close associate of Diddy via Ashton Kutcher. She had pneumonia. We see Kim Porter, Diddy's ex, pneumonia. I mean, Shaun, my 90-year-old grandma had pneumonia. She's fine. Not to say people can't die of pneumonia, but it does raise serious questions that you have to ask when someone poses a problem. Are they conveniently removed from the picture?
So Diddy has got the patent on turbo pneumonia. Reading what was allegedly Kim Porter's book, she talks about how when she gets a new boyfriend, this guy gets pneumonia and dies. And then as she's finishing a book, she's dealing with pneumonia herself, and she's talking about how people who come into contact with Diddy get this pneumonia that unalives them. I've never heard anything like it, except for you look at the history of the CIA, how they develop like turbo cancer and things like that. Like you said, if you look at the bell curve of people who get it and the tail ends of people who are unalive from it, it's extremely vulnerable, old age people, etc. People in the prime of life, they can unalive, but statistically to do so at that rate of how many people have interacted with Diddy is statistically impossible. The odds have got to be like lightning strike, lightning strike, lightning strike, lightning strike. It's crazy.
And then we had on the scene when Kim Porter passed from pneumonia, it was Corey Gamble there. Now, Corey Gamble is Kris Jenner's partner, but Corey Gamble, according to Kanye West, is a CIA asset. He's a 3-letter agency snitch, if you like. And it raises serious questions, because what I believe we're looking at is organized crime. And it makes it very hard then when you've got potentially organized crime and you're going up against people who can have 8 attorneys like Diddy had in court. It's incredibly hard to get these people put behind bars. It was clear as day to everyone that Diddy set fire to Kid Cudi's car, but then nothing happens about that. So you're dealing with professionals, I believe, who know how to avoid getting caught. It's very, very sinister. I don't think, I think, goodness, what if my children said when they're older, I want to go and work in Hollywood? I'd say not a chance. It's a dangerous place. Not to say there aren't parts of it that are nice, but there are elites running this. That Mel Gibson's told us this so many times. We've seen Isaac Cappy tell us so many times. And interestingly, note all the people that tell us are then profiled in the mainstream media to be bitter, resentful, losing the plot. It's a typical tactic of the mainstream media. They try and discredit these people from the off. But Mel Gibson, he was saying this years ago. Roseanne Barr rather, she was saying it years ago. These people are not like us.
And the more they get away with, the more entitled they get. Because if you go back and look at the shooting at the nightclub with Diddy and J-Lo, and we had the survivor of that attack on the channel multiple times, wonderful lady, shot in the head. She described it in
Tanya
minute.
Rubin.
Yeah, absolutely.
Love
and she described it in minute detail what he'd done. Yeah, they employ the strategy of the fall guy, and they get their mate to do the time, and they both walk free, etc. So imagine you've shot someone in the face and you can just walk away from court and nothing happens to you. And allegedly J-Lo brought the weapon into the club and she got a pass as well. So these people are so powerful, and they're like the personification of the old saying, in America, you get what justice you can afford. And as that goes on year after year after year, you just think you're invincible. You can get away with anything. And even now, Diddy's, he's been nailed on the lesser of the charges. So again, the fix was in with the Comeys on that one. And again, it's just showing how easy it is for these people to play the system.
And I think as well with Natanya Rubin, she was at a nightclub. She was a girl at the time, wasn't she? She wasn't a grown woman as such. And the trauma of being shot, she's still got fragments in her skull. Now to then heal from that, and she can't really ever heal, can she, in terms of physically, because there are still fragments there. But then to be denied, no, it wasn't him. She's like, I saw him with in the hand. And this is what happens when these people have money. They are rewriting history. And that is why I am never stopping on blowing the whistle on this, because this puts every single one of us at a disadvantage. And even if we, let's say, woke up with £1 billion in our account, that doesn't mean it's solved for everyone else. These are huge problems whereby the 1% are living in a world where the justice system isn't the same, the morals and ethics are not the same. Now, of course, there will be good people within the 1%, not to say that everyone is bad, but the track record of Jay-Z, Diddy, Naomi Campbell, it's horrifying. But you'll never see this in the mainstream media because they will never piece things together. Take Naomi Campbell, for example. She was an ambassador for the Queen's Jubilee. This came after she had been arrested 4 times for things like assault, and she's never served time in a prison. It was always the soft approach of community service. We then saw the Blood Diamond saga with Naomi Campbell. In the Epstein documents, I will tell you what I have been through, purely that I have seen myself. So I don't take any of the other evidence that's going around social media, because I want to ensure 100% I've seen it in the files myself. So Naomi Campbell had a very close friendship with Jeffrey Epstein. She would like us all to think she's horrified, didn't really know him. You don't constantly email people asking for their plane, asking what country they're in, if you are not friends with them. Crikey, I barely even reply to my friends and I love them. So Naomi Campbell was a very close associate of Epstein, in my opinion. Let's put that bit in. But you also see her really refer to Diddy as her brother. They were doing photo shoots together. I think Jaguar Wright used the term jelly and ice cream about Diddy and Jay-Z. Well, I'd say Diddy and Naomi Campbell are just the same. 2 peas in a pod. And there's emails in the Epstein files where, after Jeffrey Epstein had left prison for soliciting a minor, Naomi Campbell was allegedly taking a boy to meet Epstein. So these emails came about from, I would assume, a member of staff. Because of redactions, it makes it quite hard to work out who, but saying Naomi's going to bring the boy over later to see Jeffrey. These are serious, serious allegations. And Naomi Campbell has her own island as well. She had Virginia Giuffre attend her birthday party, but wanted to play it down like it was nothing. These people will all say, in my line of work, I meet thousands of people. That's the line they'll go down to try and deflect. But Naomi Campbell's track record, it speaks for itself. And she is not a very nice person, looking at the facts. I've met her as well. I thought she had an incredibly dark energy. I met Jay-Z as well. And he asked me how old I was, which in hindsight, I feel is a very weird thing. It was at a Coldplay concert at Wembley Stadium. And I was in the the guest area where basically you get a free hot dogs. That's really what I liked about it. And I said, oh, could I have a picture with you? And he said, oh, I'll be back later. How old are you? And I think I was like 23 or something at the time. And I thought that was really weird. But these people, they have the best protection money can buy. And they don't just have one of them protecting them. They've got publicists in the UK and the US, managers in the UK and the US, numerous lawyers. And these lawyers the lawyer only has to sneeze and they'll charge you. You are talking about the big boy lawyers here. So I don't think they can continue these 1%ers to get away with it anymore, because something has fundamentally shifted with the files coming out. It's allowed us to seamlessly pull everything together. Not that we couldn't before, but this is like the cherry on the top now. Everything we knew from whistleblowers, from everything we've seen, it's now just seamlessly merged together. And I'm really interested to see who will be the first person to employ Naomi Campbell, who will align themselves with her after this whole Epstein drop. And I'll be looking at them and I'll be writing to them, and I won't stop singing like a canary about it as well on social media.
and this, dovetails with Harvey Weinstein and Jay-Z, that allegation. I'll put the poem up on the screen real quick. So what is alleged is, I think it was 92 references to Jay-Z I read through today in the Epstein files. But the main one is that Shaun Carter was mentioned in an allegation of his presence during an essay involving Harvey Weinstein. So it is a raw, unverified tip, not a proven fact or a charge against him. Let me just make that clear. And it says an anonymous woman claimed in a 2019 FBI intake report released in February 2026 that she was drugged, abducted, and woke up in the presence of Harvey Weinstein and Shaun Carter. The information comes from a 2019 FBI hotline complaint, not from verified personal or financial records of Jeffrey Epstein. The DOJ emphasizes that these files can contain raw, unproven, and even false info. The report alleges the incident occurred around 1996. The accuser stated her memory was clouded due to being on substances. And as of early February 2026, Jay-Z has not been charged with this crime, or nor do the documents indicate that he was ever investigated for it. The same files mention rapper Pusha T as another handler in a separate 2007 incident involving Weinstein. And then following the 2017 SA allegations against Weinstein, Weinstein released a statement that misquoted lyrics from Jay-Z's album 444 in a failed attempt to apologize. So, there are some intertwining incidents and collaborations between these two.
Yeah, their paths have crossed frequently. And if you look at the occult, you think, well, Weinstein was top of the pyramid, wasn't he, in film? Then you hop over and you think Jay-Z, top of the pyramid, really in live music, I would say. So you look at NFL, you look at publishing, you look at the way he was doing 360 deals with Live Nation. Then you hop over again and you've got Naomi Campbell, top of the pyramid in modeling. Then we've got Beyonce, biggest female music star, and then Diddy. So Diddy, music, fashion. Their paths cross all the time. Now, with the allegations, they always go the same route. Let's make them out to be drug users. Let's make them out to be mentally unstable money grabbers. I don't think this is true whatsoever. And everyone knows if you've got enough money, you can buy silence. So a lot of people suddenly go silent, which is very, very strange. And there was an allegation that was about Jay-Z at the MTV Music Awards regarding a 13-year-old. And this was the one where he said, I'm not giving a red penny. And, I've worked my whole life for this, people trying to destroy me. And I'm paraphrasing here. But then it all went quiet. And you then see other reports come out saying, well, the victim got the statement wrong. She's unreliable. She's autistic. I mean, Shaun, I had a rant about this today. We've seen Lady C, Colin, say that basically Andrew Mountbatten Windsor's autistic, right? Well, I've got ADHD, but it doesn't make me do really bad things. Well, we see this now being an excuse for people, like to make out like we're not normal people. It's disgusting. Neurospicy people are the best, but it's very interesting that you see that the elites try and shame that victim, so that Jay-Z, or that alleged victim, because it's not been proven, to say, oh, unreliable, autistic. I mean, I think you'll find autistic and ADHD people and ADD people are so honest. Literally, on the whole, we cannot lie. We're the worst liars. So it's the money, power, and weaponization of all of that to get their own way.
Yeah, I could see Andrew now telling the judge, well, I'm not really guilty of committing these crimes of selling secrets in exchange, allegedly, for Jeffrey Epstein's pipeline of teenage girl. I'm not really guilty of these crimes, Your Honor, because I'm autistic. Can I go now, please? And the judge will laugh his ass out of the courtroom and hopefully give him the aggravated maximum sentence, because that charge that he's got, it is an aggravating circumstance if you have been paid with sexual stuff, and it is an aggravating circumstance if there's more than one incident of it. So yeah, he can play whatever mental health cards he wants, like we saw with Hugh Edwards. Perhaps he thinks, it worked for Hugh Edwards, it worked for Philip Schofield, it's going to work for me. Perhaps he will go down that road. That's what these guys seem to do. But the public are so outraged by this right now. If he gets a complete free pass, King Charles is going to be getting heckled on the streets again. He's not going to like it.
It's just, it's enough. It is enough. We, the people, work more or less Monday to Friday minimum, and they get our tax money, the government. We have been paying for Andrew's massages as well. It's come out today. I'm writing to HMRC. I want a refund. I seriously want a refund. I'd love a massage. I don't play golf. I'd maybe like to go away and drive a little golf buggy around. But enough is enough. Our nurses are underpaid. Our veterans have no sustainable mental health support. Single parents do not get enough. Our elderly cannot afford to heat their homes. And this, like I say, this is not one bad isolated apple. These are deep institutional problems whereby it was accepted.
Absolutely. That they look at the public, they look at these teenage girls as just people to use and do these heinous things to. And they don't go to sleep at nights worrying about the damage they've caused and the trauma they've caused and how these girls' lives are going to be affected for the rest of their lives. And it's going to be so bad for some of them that they're going to unalive themselves or do things that put themselves in extreme danger. R.I.P. Virginia.
Yeah.
He should be getting tried for the unalive, the farmiciding and the unaliving and the trolling and the Lady Victoria Herveying of Virginia. That's what he should be getting tried for.
Talking of Victoria Hervey, so I'm doing a documentary with Mariona Fall on X, and he had Victoria on his show last night. I'll be speaking to him about that. But on the show, Victoria, when she was asked, Victoria, how was, Andrew able to pull strings for Epstein to land his jet at RAF bases? This is surely an abuse of power. And Victoria Hervey was like, she's got this really silly accent. And I'm seeing the comments about autistic children are the sweetest ever. Yeah, they are. And also incredibly emotionally in tune and sensitive. Then, autistic people, for the elites to always scapegoat neurospicy people is just awful. But on the Victoria Hervey thing, she said, well, when you land a jet, you often have to land it at RAF bases. And she went, but the public wouldn't know that because they don't fly private. It's like, oi, Victoria, most of us are losing our marbles in Sainsbury's about the price of bloody coffee going up, £7.50 a jar. EasyJet put their prices up. That's what we're focused on, Poppet. She is an incredibly toxic voice that I just don't understand why people amplify her. I cannot for the life of me work out how her brain is rigged together. The fact that she constantly makes excuses. The excuses, Shaun, were if I was more techie, I wanted to make a video to actually slice all of what she said up, because she was saying that when Andrew was on all fours, it wasn't the fact that he was doing anything untoward. It was that Ghislaine Maxwell is medically trained, and she called Ghislaine Maxwell's lawyer. And Ghislaine Maxwell's lawyer said it was to do with, it was something like CPR. They were doing almost a training course. And you have to wonder who is paying her to spout this nonsense.
I heard an even more nonsensical quote from her as well, which I'll get to in 1 second. But thank you, Teresa, for the super chat. My daughter has autism, learning disabilities, with mental age of a 4-year-old. She's 13 years old. Can't lie for toffee. I found Lady C's comments insulting to my daughter, to be honest. My little niece has got autism and epilepsy. She has hundreds of seizures every week. So, yeah, you know, people trying to play that card, and if they're not really in that category, it's disgusting to people who are really in that category, and to the family members of the people, you know, of them. So the ridiculous quote I heard from her, I don't know if you've heard this one, Lauren. She said, all the rich and famous people Jeffrey Epstein had associated with. So basically, if you're not in the Epstein files, you're a nobody. You're a nobody if you're not in the Epstein files.
I know. It's,
oh my God.
But it's the voice. Everything about her, I feel, is appalling, and I'll never stop calling these people out, because she made a career of slamming and smearing Virginia, and Victoria Hervey is aristocratic and elite. And it just shows you what a great advert to show you how the elites think, how they view us, that anyone who's anyone was in Epstein's black book. Really? And again, Colin Campbell, the normalization of being able to pull out something like autism as an excuse for Andrew lying, or an excuse for his behavior. It's just deeply offensive, because I feel like when it comes to neurospicy parts of us, we are turning a corner and learning that some parts of it can be a superpower, but there is still stigma, and it is that archaic view and judgment whereby we're up against. So these people they don't live in the real world.
It's the anachronistic viewpoint of what the mainstream media back in the 1970s and 80s pushed on the population. I would describe it as like the Benny Hill, Jimmy Savile era. You know, when people watch Benny Hill, and I was just a child watching Benny Hill because it was on everybody's TVs. All the grannies are watching everything. And it just starts out with this ridiculous music and these little pervy old men running through a field, chasing these young women in stockings and suspenders and trying to pinch their backsides. So there is a mindset that comes from that era of some people who just are absolutely stuck on seeing, you know, young women as cattle and young women as usable and disposable, etc. I think that mindset, the elites go beyond that, because we've seen in the files now, it's coming out, there's allegations of hunting parties, all kinds of code words being used. There's a certain code word they're using for people of color at these hunting parties, and the Rothschilds are mentioned. And people have been talking about these things for years, like they were crazy, but it's all right there in plain sight now, in our faces, in the Epstein files. It's
and
like,
the way for law enforcement to discredit this is to not move these forward, so they remain unproven allegations. So they're never proved, because the minute that the authorities, whether it be UK or US authorities, move forward investigating this, if they were to find it was true, then all of a sudden everyone on the internet is right. So they can't afford to actually do a proper investigation. I clashed with someone recently about this, and I always feel really protective over things when they're unproven allegations, because, well, what framework are we looking at to hold these allegations accountable to? The police that have failed the grooming gang survivors, the police that have colluded with media, Leveson Part 2, the police that's infiltrated with Freemasons and is one kind of secret society if you're a Mason. So we're looking at a framework that conveniently at times has lost evidence. We're looking at a framework that has abused women and children. Sarah Everard. There are countless examples we could reel off, and that's the sickening thing. So actually, these institutions need to start proving to us that they should hold those positions, and we should have full faith in the law, that the law is the same for Jay-Z as it is for us, and it's not.
And it's what we're talking about is exactly why King Charles is backed into a corner right now. And I think the only way he's going to have a chance of saving the monarchy is by abdicating and giving it to William, is because if he's making an example out of his brother, yeah, the parallels between Charles's relationship with Savile and Andrew's relationship with Epstein. I mean, Savile could just waltz into Buckingham Palace. We saw Ghislaine, Spacey, etc., sitting on the throne. And Savile, all of the researchers believe the reason he was allowed to get away with this until after his death was because he knew where the bodies were buried. He had been procuring. They always portray these guys as lone wolves when they get arrested. Oh, Jeffrey Epstein is a lone wolf. There's no files, nothing to see here. Move on. Democratic hoax. What? You're still asking about that guy? And now we're getting told, we just had 3 million files released, and they're saying there's 3 million more, which is absolute BS. The 3 million that's been released is 2% of the files. There are 100.
But see, where are the other bloody 90%? Where are they? And why are they not releasing any of it?
Because if we're already at the hunting party stage, can you imagine what else is in the files, Lauren, and what it would do? I mean, this insider trading stuff, capitalism exists based on free markets operating that are supposedly fair and regulated by scrupulous people. And now what have we seen? That insiders are just providing information. Mandelson arrested today, Andrew under investigation. They can just provide information, these head honchos, to someone like Epstein who can pass it on to his buddies, and they could trade on this information, make millions at the taxpayers' expense, put our national security at risk. It's showing that the whole capitalist system is rigged in favor of the elites, and we just don't stand a chance. We just get shat on. It's a pyramid of news. The top know what's going on. The rest just completely befuddled. We're looked at, viewed as the great unwashed masses, and the mainstream media is just constantly MK ultraing and manipulating what we think is happening, when the complete opposite is what's really happening at the top. They're all running rings around us and insider trading.
Yeah, I mean, there's a reason I know often what's coming next in the news agenda. It's because it's a predictable playbook, but no one sits you down in the mainstream media and says, right, chapter 1, this is how it works. You become indoctrinated to a certain way of thinking and doing, and every part of your existence becomes that industry. So in the evening, you're going for drinks with journalists or other mainstreamers. In the day, you're at photo shoots, you're with clients, you are networking, and then often you will see people that do the very best in the mainstream cult as such are people that give it every part of their life. So You'll see editors choose other editors or columnists to be godparents to their children, or you'll see them go on holidays with each other. And it's one big club, and you get access to more of the club the higher up that you get. But you do become brainwashed, and it takes time from coming out of it to actually come up for air. But I never sat and thought, when I was in it, I never sat and you don't come up for air. So I never questioned, is this, is this what you should do? Is this how you should play this narrative? You just are like a rabbit in the headlights. It's exhausting.
Well, you were steeped in it, so you learned firsthand the machinations of these deviants, didn't you?
Yeah, I mean, I was born into the industry, so then I had, it was normal to meet someone like Michael Jackson when I was 7. Nothing untoward, guys, don't worry. But it was being around famous people was totally normal. And I know that sounds a bit tossy to say, but it's just how it was. And it's something that I've decided I want no part of. So I stepped out of it. But it's a completely different world where normal rules do not apply. You make a few calls to someone and you're not looking at the same rule book as the rest of the world. And I always found that, probably my ADHD, but I found that very unfair, and that never sat well with me. I really struggled with that part of it.
Were there any celebs in particular that you encountered that really creeped you out?
Naomi Campbell, I found very strange. It's hard. She had a very dark energy about her. There was just, it gives me the heebie-jeebies thinking about it. Who else?
And that, could you just describe that encounter then?
So it was at a friend's house at a party, and it was when I was younger, had more collagen in my face, Shaun, and didn't be tired, was a bit slimmer. But it was when in your early 20s, you want pictures with people. And I asked if I could have a picture, and she was really rude to me. And my friend took one anyway. But she kept herself to herself at this party, and she's got a very bad reputation. So if you are, the person's house I was at was very famous. So obviously she was nice as pie to him and sycophantic around him. But me, a normal person. So she didn't like the civilians of us. But that's exactly how she operates. Just look at who she spends her time with. She's like a little sniffer dog sniffing out elites to align herself with, isn't she?
Like the rodent of Andrew the rodent.
Yeah, she really is quite rodenty. Now, what is interesting about Naomi Campbell is part of the way she has been able to rehabilitate her image is via royalty. So very friendly with Sarah Ferguson. Sarah Ferguson walked the Fashion for Relief catwalk. I was there, actually. I had Katie Price was my client at the time. I had her walking that fashion show. But all of these philanthropic endeavors, they were used to rehabilitate her image, aligning herself with Beatrice Eugenie, Sarah Ferguson, the Queen's Commonwealth. And this just has to stop. What message does this send? You've been arrested 4 times and you're then welcomed in. I'm all for people having second chances, but nothing about her behavior ever shows that she's sorry and she's learned from it. It just shows she gets a more expensive lawyer to hook her out of the problem.
Yeah. All right, we've got almost 8,000 watching live. Let me put Lauren's YouTube channel link in the live chat. So
yeah, insiders, I hope we're on our way to 100,000.
Brilliant. Well done. In record time as well.
Well, Shaun, it's, you're the man behind me getting onto YouTube. I didn't even know what it was all about before I met you.
Well, you've certainly learnt fast, my friend.
I was just going down these rabbit holes. I used to drive my husband mad because until I figure something out, I can't really sleep, so I just keep going, like burrowing like Peter Rabbit.
Loads of people have put questions in the chat, and I've not managed to save any of them because the chat's going way too fast. So if you have put a question in the chat, put it back in the chat and keep putting in the chat until I highlight it for Lauren, and we will try and answer your questions while we are live here. And Christina wants to know, how are the Windsors related to the Norwegian prince?
Well, Paula M would be your person for that. She is, I don't know, but she is all over that story. So reach out to her she's quite good on X, Christina. Paula M is your woman for that. She will be back to you straight away with the answer. And Paula M, one of the first people, when I had 300 insiders, she had me on her channel.
Oh, Paula M's great. She's been just on fire reporting on the royals and Meghan Markle and stuff over the years.
And also, I really like the fact that she is fearless and brave. And I know that a lot of the Mexic community try and smear her name and cancel her, but I think that's incredibly gross. And yeah, go sub to Paula if you're not already.
You never went to the Neverland, did you? Jackson's Place, someone asked.
No, but interestingly, so my dad was very high up at Sony when Michael Jackson was releasing the History album. And I remember Sony had to get a huge amount of toys in from Hamleys for Michael Jackson's suite, really. It was at the Lanesborough Hotel. And I got to take one. I can't remember what it was. It was like a Simba or something. And then I saw him rehearse, I think it was Earth Song at the Brit Awards. But this is brilliant, Shaun. When I went to the Lanesborough to meet Michael Jackson, I was in a checked shirt from Gap, kind of like baggy jeans, and I think some Doc Martens. I was going through evidently I'll dress myself today phase. And I had all my hair, down. And people thought I was Macaulay Culkin. So there was like hundreds of fans up back in the day when someone came to town. It was just huge news. And there were photographers, film crews. And I got out the car and I went, is Macaulay here? And my dad was like, no, you idiot. They think you're Macaulay. And I was like, oh,
right. Carrie's asking, what kind of a person was Michael?
I really don't know. So this is an area that I have not researched. I watched the documentaries, and my first place to go, like I always would automatically believe a victim. So I haven't gone to that place where I've doubted them. I know there are a lot of opinions out there on him, but I really haven't found the information and curated and researched it at all. It's something that Candice Owens, I know, has been really vocal on. But when I met him, it was very brief. I'm wondering if I've got a picture. It would be quite funny to put it on screen. Hang on. Let me look on my phone while we're doing the questions, and then I can send
you have a look.
Let me just call my husband. Hang on.
Do you want me to mute you?
No, don't worry.
For all the people who've tuned in, Peter Mandelson was arrested. The news just broke just a couple of hours ago, and we showed the video of him being led out at the beginning of this stream. I can get into some more details of Mandelson and what he's facing, etc. It's the same thing as Andrew. Misconduct in public office, which carries a maximum life sentence.
I've found it. Okay, I'm going to send this to you. It's from my Instagram.
Future Doctor wants to know, what is your background? How did you end up with this access to these celebs?
So hang on one sec. I was born into the industry. My mum was in the music industry. My dad was in the music industry. And it was all very normal. I was just surrounded by it all of the time. My dad became a radio plugger and then a music manager and a PR. And then I ended up going into PR for 20 years. Sorry, I'm terrible at multitasking. But I originally went into PR because I wanted to be an actress. And I thought, well, I'll make contacts within the media. But then I was pretty rubbish at acting. So bad, in fact, that I went to apply to drama school and you had to do Shakespeare. And I hadn't learned my lines, Shaun. So I just made it up. I mean, how can you bloody well make up Shakespeare? It was ridiculous. I did a few in the audition, but did a film. But yeah, it just wasn't for me. So then I went behind the camera and did that for 20 years. So worked in the music industry, events. I worked at the Brit Awards. I had my own PR agency. I worked at lots of other PR agencies, worked with US clients, UK clients. But I'd wanted to leave for a long time. It starts to affect your mental health. I didn't feel it was in line with who I am at all. So I spent 20 years in the shadows, just picking up SH1T for people, really. There's no eloquent way to say it. And then left it because I just couldn't do it anymore. I felt it was morally not where I was. And I feel the sense of injustice very deeply of how if you're an editor and know the right people, it's smooth sailing. But if you're a normal person, the odds are stacked against you. So I said to my husband, look, I can't do it anymore. And I stepped away from it and then randomly messaged you, didn't I? And said, I don't know if you're ever looking for anyone to talk to on the channel, but I used to be in the mainstream. I'm not anymore. And, told you a bit about me. And then the rest is history.
Yeah, you came on my channel and your enthusiasm and authenticity were just radiating off the screen and resonating with everybody. And I thought, wow, this, you've got some skills here. let's
what? I was so nervous before the stream. I said to my mum, right, you've all got to leave the house and you've got to take the dogs as well. And my mum's like, right, so me, your husband, the two girls and the two dogs, where are we going to go? I said, Mum, I've got Shaun Attwood. I cannot hear the dogs in the
back. Put those dogs in their place. Do it. All right, so you're getting asked about, in the spiritual realm, Beyonce's got this, is it Sasha something?
Sasha Fierce. That is her alter ego when she's performing. That is her kind of the other side of her that comes out when the music starts.
Someone has asked, does Naomi Campbell have the equivalent to Beyonce's Sasha Fierce?
I don't feel Naomi has a good side. So I believe there's part of Beyonce potentially that is good. And then her Sasha Fierce is really the kind of, I don't know what kind of word you could use, but I don't feel Naomi Campbell has that side. I've only ever heard people that are 1%ers say they like her. And that's because she's a totally different person around those people than the rest of us. She's rude. If you're a normal person, she's rude to us.
All right. So your next question then is, how does Lauren feel about Tyra Banks, who is also part of the modeling industry? I feel like she's part of the cabal.
I don't trust her at all. I've always had very strange vibes. I thought the way she spoke to women on the Top Model show, I thought she was arrogant. I never got a good vibe about her at all whatsoever.
All right. So next question is, so Lauren, at the Friends party where you met Naomi, were there any other elites attending whose names have come up in the files recently? Thank you. Love your content.
So there was, thank you. There was Kate Hudson, Matt Bellamy, Mel C, Emma Bunton, Kate Moss, Patrick Cox. Who else? I don't drink anymore, but I was so drunk. So I'm trying to work out who else was there. Liam Gallagher, Noel Gallagher. I think that's about it, yeah.
Were the Gallaghers acting up or were they behaving?
They were lovely. Both of them were lovely. I went to the toilet after, Liam Gallagher, because I was drunk at the time. I said, I've just been speaking to Noel. I'd prefer him to you. Why would you say that? And he was actually totally charming. And then he went to the loo. And after he came out, I went to the loo. And I was with my best friend. And we were just dancing in the toilet, being like, oh my goodness, we're about to wee on the same toilet as Liam Gallagher. But they were lovely, really nice guys.
Oh, have you any view on how Captain Tom's family treated PR professional Daisy Souster, having her PR award industry nominations taken away?
So the Captain Tom story, I haven't followed super close, but I thought the way that they took those donations and the way that they were trying to run it as a company to benefit themselves, I thought it was disgusting. That man gave so much. You know, he was so inspirational during COVID, and they just absolutely took the piss.
You getting asked, do you think Michael Jackson was innocent of those heinous allegations?
It's something I wouldn't comment on without actually putting a lot of time in. So I've probably put, with the Epstein files, about 50 hours into them. And that's why I feel like I can confidently talk on it. But with Michael Jackson, I would want to look at all of the evidence. Like I say, my natural position would be I wouldn't question a survivor or a victim. And what I saw on the documentaries with the survivors and victims, I found it extremely upsetting. And my place to go wouldn't be to not believe them. Having said that, I think there is so much out there. I would like to do more research on the whole case to see, because obviously Kanye West has spoken about it, Candace Owens has spoken about it, and Candace and Kanye, I believe, are really fearless voices that are often ahead of the times. I don't always believe in or agree with what Candace is saying, and sometimes I'll see what Kanye's said and I'm like, oh my God, like, did he really say that? But with some of the things they say, you know, some of the things make sense, and some of the things they say I think are utterly awful. But I will need to do more research, but I will absolutely do the research. And when I've got an informed opinion on everything, I will come on. But I would be surprised if, I don't know, I just don't think these victims are lying. But then I also know that, you know, we see Aaron Carter said that he was almost set up to make allegations about Michael. But the victims, it was really upsetting watching them on this documentary. And they looked deeply traumatized in a way that felt very true.
Yeah, it's a tricky one, isn't it? Because these pop stars often are groomed themselves, aren't they? And then when they, you know, mature and realize what a financial scam has been run on them, and they've got all the power then all of a sudden, and they try and reverse it on the record companies and managers and agents, etc.
Yeah.
Then often you find that they're unalived, and all the money they were going to get for themselves and take from all these parasites who'd latched onto them for years, all of a sudden, once they're unalive, that money just blows up tenfold. And the parasites just have the biggest payday of their lives. So there's a huge incentive to unalive these people. I mean, look at Nirvana, for example, Courtney Love.
Yeah.
We've had a few researchers on talking about that case and how suspicious that is. I'm really suspicious about.
But what's also so interesting as well is when a lot of these cases like Kurt Cobain happened, the internet wasn't what it is now. So we're actually going to be going back in time, I think, a lot more as a society, and questioning so much. We saw Courtney Love reach out to Candace Owens as well and drop truth bombs left, right, and center. I think we'll hear more about that later this year. But a lot of these people, their lives were made hell by elites higher up the chain than them. We only have to look at Tommy Mottola as well, who was married to Mariah Carey, who Michael Jackson spoke out about. And a lot of these people always end up hooked on pharmaceuticals as well, which you have to question. This is very concerning that these patterns, people who have had all different upbringings, come from all walks of life, a lot of them all meet the same end.
Yeah, they're encouraged to get on the pharmaceuticals. It's part of the pharmacide process, and the doctors' palms are greased, and it's all one big setup to make it look like they're doing it themselves, which is what I believe happened to Virginia. So,
Yeah.
Marie Collins, do you really believe Michael Jackson was trying to protect certain children from Epstein? Macaulay Culkin and Corey Feldman, we've had Corey on, have spoken about this.
I'd love to see those clips. I haven't seen those clips at all. At the end of the day, everything we know has not been right, has it? So we are going back in time as well and looking through everything. This is an interesting question. What does Lauren think of Billie Eilish? I do not think she is getting the proper care that she needs at all. You see at a certain part in the music industry where they go from the nicey girl to let's slip right into that satanic imagery, and they become, we saw it with Lady Gaga as well. You see it with Beyonce, Billie Eilish. I think Billie Eilish would do well to remove herself from the music industry. While you're young, you've got your life ahead of you. If you love music, write for other people, but get out of it. It's toxic. Every artist who ends up signing with a major label, without question, says they then spend the rest of their career trying to get out of it. You do a deal with the devil.
And are they not allowed to rise up the ranks unless they start dressing and putting out the symbolism for the Satanists?
Yeah, and also this is an art. It really is an art whatsoever. You see it with Sam Smith, you see it with all of them. I won't now, the minute I'm driving, and I only listen to Heart 90s, but if Jay-Z or any of these people come on, they're straight off. I just don't want that low vibrational vibe in my Fiat. No, thank you.
So Max wants to know, have the recent Epstein events marked a turning point in the public perception of celebrity culture?
Max, that's such a good question. Yes, I think they have. I think we have probably all been guilty of worshipping false idols. I think we have been conditioned to put these people on a pedestal and hold them in high regard. But when we remember they are curated, they are not real. What you are seeing, yes, the person is real, but the story around them is created by someone like me in my old profession or a manager. They are facades. So I think what has been brilliant about the Epstein files dropping, I feel there's a huge shift in actually people seeing how distorted celebrity is. And what I love so much at the moment is actually the new form of celebrities or people we're looking up to and respecting are the likes of Andrew Gold and Liam Tufts. I just think that's brilliant. I don't want my children to aspire to be like the elites. I want them to look at people like Andrew Gold and Liam Tufts, who have worked incredibly hard, built their podcasts, spoken to hundreds of people, and are actually really important voices of our time. So that is what I think has come from this. And the veil has been lifted now. And we just have to continue to keep our eyes open, because that culture, that celebrity culture, can only thrive if we let it. So the minute you stop clicking on that mainstream media, the minute you stop engaging with that circus, it's just dwindling. Cat Williams told us this was coming. I love that man. He said all will be revealed. It's up for all of them, and he was not wrong.
Absolutely. Ask for your thoughts on the Beckhams. They're quite an industry, aren't they? And they've had the ins and outs with the Markles as well.
Yes, they have. So the Beckhams, there's part of me that really respects the fact that They kind of run their image like a well-oiled machine, and really the press are scared of the Beckhams. They want to work with them, so the Beckhams really have the press by the balls. But I did read the Brooklyn Beckham statement, and a lot of that rang true to me, knowing what the industry's like when you're in it. So how fake everything is, really. But then Brooklyn went and set up Pap Shots afterwards after saying he wanted privacy. So I thought, bog off.
All right, next one is the unaliving of Liam Payne's. What's your thoughts?
So everything about that I thought was unbelievably tragic. I thought the way TMZ behaved is disgusting, and it was the worst thing I think I've ever seen a media outlet do, running the picture of his body, which they then retracted, putting the news out before any of his family may have been told. They absolutely monetized and capitalized on his death. Now, Liam Payne has a young son named Bear, and Cheryl Cole has worked incredibly hard to keep Bear's life normal and to keep them out of the press. I just felt sickened by that and was very vocal actually at the time. It was very interesting as well that Liam Payne was found with, is it Tootsie? It's the pink narcotic that is.
Oh yeah, let's be careful about talking about that. And he was also, there was a story about the ladies of the night that hadn't been paid as well.
Yeah, I mean, I just see a man that was so vulnerable, and all that looked to be happening there was people trying to exploit him. And even in death, he was being exploited. Those kind of things make me feel incredibly angry. Rupert Murdoch closed the News of the World and then just went over to America, and, he owns TMZ. I find it just a sickening media outlet, and I have only shared one thing from TMZ on my channel ever, and that was the recent picture of Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, because I felt it was not intrusive to some degree. But their reporting is, if you are a celebrity and a woman and you're going to a gynecologist, that gynecologist is highly likely to sell your confidential information to TMZ. This is so widespread in Hollywood. We saw when Michael Jackson had the ambulance, the call was almost being live streamed on TMZ, and the Paps were there straight away filming it. And you think, well, look, Paris Jackson and her two brothers, how deeply traumatizing, as someone that has lost someone in the public eye and had to grieve whilst you felt like you were being intruded on. I just can't imagine. So close TMZ down, I say.
And Palantir and Peter Thiel are absorbing all of our data now, and they're trying to get all the medical records for the UK. And this is one of the biggest rising evils. So, Dan, why did the FBI say so positively there are no people to prosecute based on the files? Did they not expect it to be released, or is it the larger cabal master plan?
I think they just think we're stupid. I think they think we are all really stupid and that we will get bored. So they'll drop another story and nothing will happen. But they've underestimated the public, because we have not let this go. It's been years, and they can't talk to us like we're school children anymore. We're not obedient. We're not going to sit down and nod our heads like a nodding dog. So I look at Pam Bondi. She originally released old flight logs that had already been in the public domain and thought we would be okay with that. I think they have underestimated how clever the public are, because so many of the public have disengaged from mainstream and actually use their brain frequently and connect dots. And that brain's like a muscle. The more you use it, the more inquisitive you get, the more you commit to actually finding the truth. And I don't think they expected that from the public. I just think they think we're all asleep and stupid.
Yeah, I agree with you. Absolutely. They always try to portray the perpetrator as a lone wolf. They never want us to look up the ladder. And if you look up the ladder with the Epstein files, Wexner's all over it. Go back to 2019, the FBI knew of 10 potential alleged co-conspirators. One was a billionaire living in Ohio. No surprise that is Wexner. And then we saw Wexner take the stand. Well, actually got interviewed at his palatial home and pretend to be this doddering buffoon who was taken advantage of by Jeffrey. But actually, he signed over so much to Jeffrey. He facilitated the house. He facilitated the airlines, the transportation, going back to Wexner, working with the CIA, with Southern Air Transport and Air America, etc. So these guys are totally insulated. We saw this, this soft discussion they had with him, and his lawyer leaned over and telling him he was going to be unalived if he used more than 5 words. So they've got so much resources, so much legal protection, so many connections. The whole system would have to be turned upside down for these guys to fall, in my opinion, which is a very sad thing. I mean, Andy has fallen, yeah, but that's part of the agenda as well. It's they're dismantling the royal hierarchy to bring in the AI Palantir Peter Thiel hierarchy. That's what I believe. Anything to add to that, Lauren?
Well, someone's asking for you to share the picture of me and Michael Jackson that I WhatsApped you.
Yes. Are you able to send it to me on email? Because I don't know how to put it on the screen from my phone. I mean, I could just hold my phone to the camera and chance it.
Hang on, let me email it to you. So what do I have to add to that? Well, it's actually really sinister, isn't it, when you think about Victoria's Secrets as well, because there was knowing what happened and what Les Wexner was doing. Oh, I can't remember your email address, Shaun.
Yeah. Do you want me to email you an email? You can see it come in.
Yeah.
All right, I'll send you an email now.
Knowing what they were doing, it's then the fact of what did 13, 14-year-old girls want to do? They wanted to go to Victoria's Secrets, didn't they? They wanted to buy the body spray. They wanted to buy the little T-shirts. And actually knowing what Victoria's Secrets was part of and funding, I think it makes me feel quite sick.
I know, and I'm wondering why people aren't, protesting at Victoria's Secret's head office or Bath and Body Works head office, because they told these girls, we will get you jobs as models. Victoria's Secret, Epstein's hanging out with the top models, using that to impress these girls. And that's how they got in the pipeline to come out, to leave their families behind in East Europe, for example, the Jean-Luc Brunel pipeline, come to America, feds fast-tracking the visas, the passport situation. And then they're in the clutches of these demons. So Victoria's Secret, I'm really glad you pointed that out. Nobody's mentioning that, are they? That this is the method that they used. Was the Victoria's Secret false promises?
But then you've got people like Cara Delevingne walking for Victoria's Secrets. You've got Heidi Klum. Let's not forget Heidi Klum was photoed at her Halloween party with Andrew Mountbatten Windsor. This is what we mean. This whole club, it ends up just being one big club. And a lot of Victoria's Secrets have started to close, I've noticed. But if we go back and look at Victoria's Secrets and Abercrombie and Fitch, both of the owners implicated with Epstein in the documents, Victoria's Secrets and Abercrombie absolutely shaped pop culture. They were huge. It was a different time then. It was a time when we didn't have access to everything we have now. So the world was a lot smaller, and the Victoria's Secret's runway show was massive. And Abercrombie and Fitch, you wanted to be a model at the doorway, didn't you? I remember my first office in PR in Savile Row in London was by the Abercrombie building. And honestly, Shaun, I used to walk past and be like, they'll spot me one day. They never did.
My God.
I was about 8 foot too short and 3 foot too wide. But, thank goodness, though. But you think how many people were groomed and and looked at the likes of Cara Delevingne and Heidi Klum, who had the top spots of walking in Victoria's Secrets. And then these girls that evidently were sold something that was so far away from ever walking a catwalk, and had probably horrific experiences.
This is an interesting question because it's something that's on my mind as well, because he was clicked up with the old boy who went to prison. What was his name? Who was his manager and was unalived in prison? What was the guy that was anything salacious? Any stories that were salacious, he would cover you up. So you're getting asked about Max Clifford, yeah. So you're getting asked for your thoughts on Simon Cowell, because they were so tight, weren't they? And wouldn't Cowell have gone to Clifford because he had something to hide in the first place?
So, okay, I've met Simon Cowell numerous times. Personally, I've always found him to be utterly charming and very, very nice. But I don't agree with morally and ethically X Factor. I worked on X Factor. I did the PR for the tour, and I found that in my experience, there were huge safeguarding failures for the contestants. And it wasn't something I particularly enjoyed because of that. I believe Simon Cowell went with Max Clifford because Max Clifford had the tabloids in the palm of his hands. So this was back in the day when Simon Cowell would like to go to Stringfellows a lot. He would be hanging out with lots of page 3 models, that kind of thing. And so because Max Clifford was a gatekeeper with those publications and would also represent lots of those page 3 models, it made it easier to stop those stories. So you have Simon Cowell trying to kind of build a brand before he was with Lauren, his partner now. Simon Cowell's trying to create a big Saturday night family show with X Factor. And it doesn't really work if you're then seen falling out of Stringfellows, does it? And sleeping with a page 3 model who could be, mid-20s. So Max Clifford was someone that could stop those stories running. And then it becomes like car sales. You start trading, and he'd probably give the press another story the following week. It's a dealer, really.
Couldn't he have just stopped going out with page 3 girls in Soho? Wouldn't that have been simpler?
Well, yeah, but we're normal, Shaun. That's what we would do. We wouldn't look. Who wants to go out on a Saturday night anyway? But Simon Cowell always had a harem of very pretty women, didn't he? And he knew
was that to hide something else, perhaps?
I don't know. I mean, look, all I'm saying is I don't know.
A harem of beards, perhaps?
Wow, I've heard various things, but I couldn't possibly say. But he was charming. I had dinner with him in Barbados and went out clubbing with him in Westlife once. He was just lovely. But I think I'm not happy with X Factor, and I feel like there was never the protection for people who were launched into stratospheric, or whatever the word is. What's the word? It's been a long day. I don't know. You know what I'm trying to say.
Next question.
Yeah, next question.
Thoughts on Lenny Kravitz?
Don't know enough about Lenny Kravitz. Never really got the music. Thought he was overrated.
Thoughts on Fall of the Cabal? I've not watched that yet.
No, I'm going to write that down though. Fall of the Cabal.
Right. Okay. Let me see. Has Lauren met Nina Simone?
No.
Do you find your podcasts are satisfying for spreading awareness for survivors?
I hope so. That's what, my ultimate dream is to do an investigative documentary on the care system and how the children are being fed to people. I don't mean, like that, but I feel like we have totally failed children, and that's my absolute dream to do that. I always try, and I'm always just myself on my podcast, and I always just say what I feel passionate about, and it is that standing up for people that don't have a voice. I saw my mum not be listened to and almost silenced at a time in my life, and that has imprinted on me very strongly. So I'm doing it for, so other people aren't in positions like my mum as well.
Do you think this is all a MK Ultra machination?
Well, I think MK Ultra is much more present than we would all like to think. I think the way that MK Ultra is positioned, it was very clever by the CIA that it's conspiracy theory and blah blah blah, or it's not in existence anymore. MK Ultra is widespread, just in many different formats.
Yeah, and I definitely think that the deep state that puts the MK Ultras us through the mainstream media have co-opted the release of the Epstein files and are trying to utilize it to their advantage. For example, they're trying to get rid of the old guard in certain areas of the world and bring in the technocratic AI elites to give them more control. I think that's one of the motivations. That's why we see, Andrew has got it the most, because the technocrats, I believe, want the monarchy out of the way so they can be in complete control. The fall of the royal power is the rise of them and the AI power. Any thoughts on that, Lauren?
Well, I think what's so scary is that Mandelson is one of many, many, many. So there might be other politicians, or there might be politicians that aren't in the files. But that doesn't mean they're not doing the same, just with someone else. This is so deep how far this corruption goes down. I've seen some of it myself firsthand. So I do believe, with Andrew, there is a huge focus on that. I think it's also because it was taxpayers' money. It's on royal grounds, some of the allegations. But a lot of the other offenders, I think people don't know necessarily who they are. That doesn't mean people wouldn't want to know, but because it wouldn't sell copies, the media just, that goes on the cutting room floor. We'll never hear of it. That's why it's so important to actually do go in the files if you want to and see for yourself, because you'll never get the full story otherwise.
Did you ever come across or work with Piers Morgan over the years?
No, he blocked me.
He blocked you for what?
Well, I did a tweet about, I think he called Tommy Robinson a grifter, and I said to him, was it 1995 to whatever year when you were editing a newspaper that was hacking phones, but obviously you didn't know about it, did you, Piers? And he blocked me.
Any stories you can share from the PR hub of Soho in London, Brown's, Soho House, etc.?
Brown's wasn't a go-to place. Soho House was, but there's another one on the same street as Soho House. These clubs are awful, though. They're not. You just don't. You wouldn't enjoy going to them. Like, they're the kind of places where you order a burger, and you're like, right, where's the other one? Small portions. Everyone looking at everyone. Oh, who's here? I had more fun in a Wetherspoons myself.
Kind of place that Lady Victoria would frequent then.
Gross. But
if you're not in the files, you're a nobody.
She'd only go if she told the paps, and then probably the poor paps turned up, took a picture of her, and couldn't even sell it because she's a nobody.
That's insane. If you're not in the Epstein files, you're a nobody. Lady Victoria Hervey actually said that. Folks, I'm not making this up. I wish I was, but there are people out there that are this delusional. Was Naomi Campbell charged with assault 4 times?
So Naomi Campbell's, look, the list is extensive. There was obviously the phone she threw at the PA, I believe it was.
Oh yeah, remember that.
There was the assault. You need to Google the exact list and what she then got charged with, or not charged with rather, it is crazy. The fact that you've got the CPS who say there's not enough, when Starmer was obviously head of it, not enough evidence for Savile, right? Unbelievable. And then Naomi Campbell's like, boof, but we'll just give you a little bit of community service, Poppet.
Thank you for the super chat, Professor Hamamoto, but I'm unable to put that on the screen. It's quite funny, though.
Oh, Professor, let me have a look. Is Professor Hamamoto watching?
He's a fan of yours, Lauren.
What's he said? I love Professor. I said he needs to write a book, though, for the masses, because he's so clever that often he can't write an academic book for us all. Well, maybe he could, other people could read it. I couldn't. But his mind is just like dynamite.
Teresa has just gifted 5 Lauren the Insider memberships. Didn't Teresa do that last time?
I don't know.
Someone's hitting those Lauren gifted memberships every time you're on. I think it's the same person.
Oh, and hit the subscribe button. Oh, thank you. Hit the subscribe button, everyone, if you are not subscribed.
So Kevin wants... Oh, sorry.
I was saying, I said to my husband, I said, this is so funny. I said, I think I'm going to wake up and they've all gone one morning. It's very odd.
Don't be manifesting. Do you think more will come out about Diana?
Hard. So looking back, a lot doesn't add up. I interviewed Tom Sykes on your channel, actually, Shaun, didn't I, about Diana? And he did an investigation looking back at how lots of things didn't add up. I think Diana was absolutely removed by probably a 3-letter agency. And that's ultimately what Tom Sykes alluded to in his piece last year. I think she posed a problem, didn't she? Because Princess Diana used and worked with the media in a way that no one else had ever worked with media like that. She was so clever, but she also was full of integrity as well. She really pushed people into the news agenda that the news would have shied away from. So we saw Princess Diana meet people who had AIDS. And previously, you know, these people had been treated like they were toxic and people would only touch them if they were wearing gloves. And we saw Princess Diana shake the hands of them and she wasn't wearing gloves. We saw the work she did with the landmines. And this is the thing, we, the public, when we connect with someone, you can't break that. And I think it really posed a problem for the firm, because you then see that she was dating Dodi Al-Fayed, and the press were obsessed with her. She was a superstar. It was like Beatlemania wherever Princess Diana went.
Yeah, she certainly caused the royal family to start thinking, you know, she's outshining the master, basically, wasn't she?
Yeah. And also, I just feel like she had such a terrible experience with the BBC as well, how she was treated. No one understood mental health there. No one gave people like Diana the support she needed. And she really was dragged through the mud and treated in the most appalling way. I'm no fan of Prince Harry whatsoever, but I do agree with him and William. I mean, I love Prince William, but the fact that the press drove her as well to her death, there was the way they chased her and hounded her. And you think she was also living with bulimia. She was living with mental health struggles, as anyone would, and was on a downward spiral from not being able to trust anyone because Panorama had totally set her up. I mean, the fact the BBC didn't close the day we knew how they'd behaved, Unbelievable.
And the fact that they brought Jimmy Savile in as a marriage guidance counselor.
Absolutely awful.
And when I read Diana in her own words, I was flabbergasted that she had written to her lawyer saying that I think they're going to bump me off and make it look like a car crash. And that's her own words.
Yeah. And interesting, isn't it? Because those are the kind of truths that the mainstream media aren't allowed to run because they're controlled. So you only hear it outside of the almost the MK Ultra lab.
Sorry's asking, are Harry and Meghan still clinging onto their titles?
Yeah, they're still clinging on to their titles. Get ready, because when Prince William is King William, there are going to be big changes. We'll go with how the, royals around Europe are. That we'll have a much more slimmed down monarchy. And I think that's the way to do it. I think if you're a working royal, you have a working title. And if you're not a working royal, pay for yourself and you don't get a title.
Diana was aware of the cabal. She was aware of the reptilians.
So I don't know what right. I went down this rabbit hole, Shaun. Where can I find something on this? Because I'm fascinated to watch it or read it or see it.
Let me Google. Did Diana call the royal family reptilian? I think that she did, Let's see. Okay, so David Icke has promoted the theory that the royal family are shape-shifting reptilian humanoids since the 1980s. He alleged in his book, The Biggest Secret, that Diana told him this information. There we go.
Really?
The reptiles, according to Princess Diana's friend, Christine Fitzgerald, Diana's nickname for the Windsors was the reptiles or the lizards.
I feel like I need to do a David Icke beginners course, because I'm always interested to hear so many different opinions, even if they're not something that matches mine. I do love learning, and I feel that I've got a lot of work to do on going back to the start on David Icke.
Oh, can we see
I'm a David Icke virgin.
Can we see the photo Lauren sent?
Oh,
Did you
yeah.
email it to me?
I emailed it to you.
Right, let me get on that then. Okay, let's see. Oh, so that's you and Michael Jackson. Oh my goodness. This is crazy. Look at this, folks. Let me get it on the
I
screen.
couldn't find the one without text on.
What year was this then?
So that was at the Lanesborough when it was the History album. I must have been about 6 or 7, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I cut the girl out because it was my dad's boss's daughter in the other side of it. But yeah, weird, isn't it?
At the time, my dad held a vice president role at Sony, and this picture was taken at a meet and greet MJ did with people at Sony Music for the History album. If I remember correctly, the artist relations team brought in a huge amount of Hamley's toys for him when he was in town. Obviously very strange now with what we know. I got to keep a Simba toy before they were dropped off. I also got to see him rehearse Earth Song when he did the Brit Awards, as I was too young to go to the show, and as a booktooth kid, also highly irrelevant to attend also. Oh. Wow, not many people have got pictures like that, Lauren.
Yeah, quite cool.
It's really cool.
Queen I do
took
think he's a musical genius.
Why do you think the Queen took 7 days to comment on Diana's demise?
So I spoke to Andrew Loney about this, and he said previously the late Queen did everything by the book, and she was doing what she thought was right. But obviously then, with the public mood and things really gaining momentum, she had to come out and speak. I think often so many people in power have underestimated the public mood, and I think people are often too out of touch with how we all feel.
Yeah, absolutely.
I went to put flowers down outside Kensington Palace when Princess Diana died.
I was in Arizona when I got the phone call from my parents that she died.
Behind bars?
No, I was a free man at that point. Kevin wants to know, will there ever be any justice with these people in the files?
Well, I think it's a long road. I don't think we're by any means close, but we've got more information we were never meant to get. And I also think that we've now seen the elite structure be dismantled from the point of view that they don't hold the power they once held. And so that is massive progress. But each and every one of us have to continue to not ever give them that power back. We're a long way off yet, but I feel confident that now I think the 99% are much more united than we probably have been in a long time.
Got a very pertinent super chat here from Jack. Dodi was related to Khashoggi, who was tied to Epstein. It's a small world at the top. Indeed. So Epstein was introduced to the apparatus by Maxwell, as Robert, as confirmed by Ari Ben Menashe, Israeli military intelligence told us. And Khashoggi, Bank of Credit Commerce International, had honey trap operation throughout Europe. And Epstein was watching all this play out. And this was when he was formulating, his own schemes within that structure. So that this is the apparatus that continues to this day. The names change, but the apparatus thrives, unfortunately. And we're looking at the chain of command in some of these communications. Wexner, understand, is taking recommendations from the Rothschilds. Epstein's taking money from Rothschild. So they're obviously that banking cartel is obviously way up in the power pyramid of this apparatus. But the people at the top are probably will probably never ever know who they are.
Yeah, absolutely. But something good to come from this is the exposure, for example, of Abercrombie and Fitch and Victoria's Secrets, because those structures have previously been ways in which to kind of feed these girls through. And I'm happy that we can now see that that's dismantled, the veil's been lifted on that. But we just need to keep shining a light, keep talking about this for sure.
Yep. And we've got 15 minutes to the hour. I was going to get more into the Mandelson story then that's been reported. And do you have time to stick around for that, Lauren?
Yeah.
All right. So at the very beginning of this video, we showed Mandelson getting arrested. I probably should show it again because we've got so many more people watching now. So let me get this on the screen. This is a huge victory for the survivors and everybody that's been researching this case. So Peter Mandelson, the Prince of Darkness, the guy who brags that he was one of the major architects of New Labour under Tony Blair and Gordon Brown, today was arrested. Thank you to the Epstein files. And here's the picture of the police leading him away from his Camden home. Look at the scowl.
And you know what? He'll just be there with some hotshot lawyer and all he'll say is no comment.
Yeah, and he's not even got handcuffs on. I'm disappointed.
Me too. I want to see him in an orange jumpsuit.
I want to see him looking like the prince, looking like, oh my God, here it is. I want to see him looking like this when he comes out the cop shop.
See, Andrew's. Oh, wow. Have you actually, is that from when you were inside?
This is called correctional clothing. You can get it online. Yeah. That's an orange jumpsuit, the American prison style jumpsuit.
But did you get to keep one when you were
No, they don't let you keep them. No. And
what did you have to wear?
So when you're unsentenced, you wear the black and white stripes, sheriff's inmate. And then when you are sentenced, they put you in the orange. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Did you enjoy your time behind bars? Which I know
No.
sounds like a silly
I
question.
know that sounds a weird thing to ask. You know, it's not an enjoyable experience. People getting murdered, dead rats in the food, cockroaches crawling all over us. But there are moments of bonding through gallows humor with the other inmates and hearing the stories and, you know, realizing how a lot of them got into drugs, and it's sad that they're addicted because they were victims of PDF files. So many people, childhood trauma, end up in prison, and your heart opens to the suffering of people. You know, living with people in deeply using the injecting the H drug for living with them for 6 years, the majority of them, and hearing what they've been through to get on the PDF files, especially stories like that, really made me want to, you know, let the world know what was going on and expose the horrors of these people being warehoused by the prison industrial complex, which is an offshoot of the military industrial complex, actually. It's all about commoditizing people in warehouses and profiteering from them. And they say they're getting the big bad criminals, but they're actually working with the big bad criminals, the CIA, etc. The average arrest was a low-level drug user, mentally ill people. The prison is the biggest house of the mentally ill. So it completely transformed my understanding of prisons and prison populations, and led to me doing all this true crime stuff. So it certainly did me some good. But we've only got 10 minutes before Sobering Stories.
Can I do it? But I need to interview you another time I've got so many questions. We'll put another stream in for that.
Absolutely. So let me just look at the headline news then on Mandelson. Conservative leader criticizes Keir Starmer over the appointment of Mandelson. That's one of the headlines. Mandelson's arrest latest. He faces questioning after searches of 2 of his properties. Ex-Labour peer faces questioning over alleged leaks to Epstein while he was business secretary. Just like Andrew, he's arrested on suspicion of misconduct in a public office. And he was sacked in September 2025, just like days before he was about to receive Trump in the UK for Starmer. That was good timing. Was being investigated after allegations he shared confidential government information with Epstein when he was business secretary. His arrest follows search warrants carried out at 2 properties in Wiltshire and Camden. It's the Camden one we just showed you on the video. So the Met Police spokesperson said officers have arrested a 72-year-old man on suspicion of misconduct in public office. He was arrested at an address in Camden on Monday, Feb 23rd, and has been taken to a London police station for interview. So I ended up in a London police station for interview back when I was reporting on Epstein in 2019, 2020. I knew in advance. I had a lawyer with me, and it was basically they were sweating me for reporting on survivors, and they put restrictions on my channel. So I don't think he's going to go through anything too thorough. Like the other night, we did a video about what prisoners go through when they get arrested. Oh, it was on Andrew Gold's channel, I think, talking about the strip searches, the foreskin search, all that kind of stuff. Just got to spread your ass crack, and they're looking right up there to see if you're smuggling anything in, that kind of stuff. And I don't think he's going to be going for anything like that at this stage.
No, well, because he, just like the royals, Mandelson will have one of the 4 to 5 top lawyers. There are 4 to 5 top law firms. I won't say their name, but in the UK, these lawyers can get you out of more or less anything. So Mandelson would have probably just repeated his name. He would have said no comment to everything, I'm sure. And he will have the best legal minds in the country getting him out of this. So the police really have to pull it out of the bag, because this swamp needs to be drained, and it is far from being drained.
Do you think those lawyers will have the handshake?
Yeah. Yes. When I first started in the industry, one of my oldest friends, Emma, said the music industry is run by Masons. And I was probably 19, just starting out. I said, what are you on about? You're mad. And she said, no, it's all Masons, this, that. They meet in the lodges. It's true, isn't it? The Freemasons are rife in every industry, But yes, I'm absolutely sure they've all got the same little handshake.
Wasn't he former US ambassador? Yeah, he was just about to receive Trump. He was days away from receiving Trump in this country when the last batch of files came out and they had to ditch him. And Starmer admitted that he knew about Mandelson's relationship with Jeffrey. He's known all along. And then they sacked someone in the Labour government that they said brought Mandelson in, like this fall guy last week, I think it was. So Starmer was like wobbling, but he believes that he's not going to get toppled. But
Keir Starmer hates us all. He hates children. He is sociopathic, in my opinion. He is not. He's not wired like any of us, and he just says sorry and then thinks we'll move on. No, he has been groomed for this role. Starmer has for decades and decades. You only have to look at what he let through when he was head of the CPS. He has been, in my opinion, damaging our country and our rights and the protection of children for decades, but he has been in the shadows.
Yeah, he's just got an antennae sticking out the back of his head that the deep state beaming the latest download to him to do whatever they want, and he's completely expendable. And that's the sad thing. It does give us some satisfaction to throw rotten carrots and turnips and apples at these bad players, but they're all interchangeable, folks. The apparatus laughs at us at the end of the day for getting mad at these people because they're all just little pawns and clowns.
Well, I tell you, if any of you want a laugh, Tony Blair's on the charm offensive. It's disgusting. Let the sick bucket out. So he's got a documentary coming out on Channel 4. It is the biggest. I thought it was a parody, actually. And they're trying to obviously kind of position him. He has got a lot of questions to answer. He is so deep in the cabal. It is unbelievable. And he thinks we don't know that his son's benefiting off contracts to this and that. It's one big club. So the best thing is just to keep calling them out.
Even crazier than that, they are putting him on the Palestine Peace Board. Tony Blair, the man who with George W. Bush lied to us that Saddam Hussein had weapons of mass destruction, and then went and bombed some of the poorest countries in the world, including Iraq. Over 1 million dead in Iraq, half of them women and kids. Not soldiers, women and kids, folks. Just so that these guys can make more money for Halliburton, who could charge taxpayers $50 every time a soldier picked up a banana in the canteen. It's crazy. Halliburton, Dick Cheney, whose company provided the showers that had electrical faults that killed more soldiers than the bloody than there were. Charlie Robinson explained it all to us anyway, and he just escaped from Mexico with all this cartel violence. He just messaged me. Anyway, we've got just a few minutes left, Lauren. Still like 7,500 watching. Wow. And let's get Lauren's YouTube channel link in the live chat. If you're on Lauren's, don't forget to sub to over here. Cross-pollination, please. And huge thank you. We just went through another 100,000 subs at 1.1 mil right now. Went through to 100,000.
Yeah. Oh, you know, there's millions. Well, it's when I came to your house. I said, "Oh, I'm working hard. I want to get my plaque," and you were like, "This is my 1 million."
Look at it, 1 million subscribers.
This is my lamp from Habitat.
I don't get to gloat very often. Thank you, Lauren, for the opportunity. So, yeah, anything you'd like to say in conclusion to the viewers?
No, got a busy week this week investigating Alyssa, the 17-year-old Latvian girl found on the Sandringham estate. So I'm going to film later this week. Right, important actually. If there is anyone watching that is based in Latvia, I need you to reach out to me. I need someone in Latvia for some research. And if there is anyone that was a retired coroner or anyone that has worked. I think that's it. A coroner would be key. I understand it's quite a specialist career role, but yeah, reach out to me or anyone in Latvia. That would be amazing.
All right. I will let you go and close the show then, Lauren. Thank you for coming on, and you have a great day.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye. Cheers. All right. Yep. Thank you for all your questions and comments and everything. All appreciated. Makes my job easier with your questions. I don't have to pick my own brain. And we've got sobering stories coming up next to do a deeper dial on Mandelson getting arrested. So stay tuned. Sobering stories coming in 2 minutes. Just looking at some of the chat comments. Lauren gets very busy, lol. David Icke study. So we've got another David Icke stream podcast pre-record coming out in just about 2 weeks. More on the Epstein files and the royal family. I know people are asking about the Clintons and the Epstein files. I could talk for hours on the Clintons and the Epstein files. They are not good people, folks. I've written a book called Clinton, Bush, and CIA Conspiracies, subtitle From the Boys on the Tracks of Jeffrey Epstein. And it was my research into the Clintons that led me to understand the hashtag Clinton body count and how Jeffrey did not stand much of a chance of staying alive in jail when he had the goods on the Clintons. Yeah. So yeah, I've got lots to say about them. Let me just have a look at some of the questions. Got 1 minute left. Do I think things will become worse for Andrew? Yeah, I think it's just beginning for him. And I think it's going to also spread to Charles. And he's going to have to abdicate and hand it over to William. I think it's going to get worse as the case develops. There's just going to be more and more news stories. If they let Andrew off the hook, how's that going to look to Charles at this point? It's just like, they're an untouchable class of people. So it's got to get worse for Andrew. And that heat will also just start to drag down the royal family, I do believe. All right, so I'm going to finish this stream now, and it will take you over to Sobering Stories. Nick, deep dive on Mandelson getting arrested.